think, and I hope. Our strength will be tested and our endurance will be tried, but America will answer with love and courage.
Michael, does that strike you as different? Does it matter?
A, it does matter. B, it is different only to the extent that it is scripted. Because then what you see after he comes off the paper is where it becomes unnerving again. So to the president's last point before we were able to come on, where he was talking about being hopeful, that statement is a hopeful statement. You know why? Because there's hope in being honest. So just tell me what we're up against. Because once I know what I'm up against, then I can latch onto that hope. The president thinks by just saying, oh, we're all going to be back in church on Easter Sunday, or, this is all going to go away in a few months. And could you imagine, if it was really 2 million, we're just telling you it's going to be 100,000, that collectively we get hope from that, Ari. And that's not how hope works. Hope works from an honest place.
Bottom line,
when
yes.
Our leaders come to us and speak with us with honesty, as the president did in that little bit of that moment. But then it all gets unnerved when he gets up there and he starts riffing and thinking, and telling us how he really feels about this stuff. And that's when the hope begins to dissipate into consternation,
it kills the hope,
and all those other feelings that people have.
Yeah. Frustration throughout the nation. I mean, Congressman Lou, I want to play another piece of the president here to Michael's point, because these briefings are a grim daily presentation to the nation. And because of the presence of Dr. Fauci, Dr. Birx, and others, they always have some useful information. Because of on some nights, the president's contributions and others, they can turn into a much more freewheeling piece of politics or misinformation. The president today, for example, bringing up his views on impeachment, which really is not where anyone's head is at. So, Congressman, take a listen to the president here doing the negative side, which is when he gets into just defending the government rather than giving people the medical information they need.
The question is, what would have happened if we did nothing? Because there was a group that said, let's just write it out. Let's write it out. What would have happened? And that number comes in at 1.5 to 1.6 million people, up to 2.2 and even beyond. So that's 2.2 million people would have died if we did nothing. We just carried on our life. Now, I don't think that would have been possible because you would have had people dying all over the place. This would not have been a normal life. How many people have even seen anybody die? You would have seen people dying on airplanes. You would have been seeing people dying in hotel lobbies. You would have seen death all over.
Congressman?
Thank you, Ari. I had no idea what Donald Trump was talking about. No rational person was saying do nothing. In fact, everybody else was saying do a lot more than you already are doing. And I do agree that the job of the president is to give hope, but it's not to give false hope. And what ended up happening is in the early stages of this crisis, the president kept saying things that were false and misleading, and it led a lot of people to go and not social distance. It led a lot of people to take actions they shouldn't have. And without testing, it allowed this virus to continue to spread across America. And now we have the most number of cases in the world. We have more people that die now from this virus than 9/11. And we can't just look at this and say, let's just keep giving people hope. We have to give them the truth. And one other thing I want to add is when you look at these press conferences, if you were watching MSNBC, today would not have been surprising. If you watch Fox News, today's press conference may have been surprising to you because networks like Fox just kept giving false information, misleading information to many
There you go.
Americans. And they really should have apologized for what they did.
Well, I think you speak to, Congressman, the role of perception and information in this. Dr. Osterholm, that does seem different. In other words, if Americans want to hold vastly different views of the world, even counterfactual, there are a whole range of topics where that may not hurt anyone, at least in the short run. Here, to the congressman's point, there were people who very recently, 8 days ago, 12 days ago, were using their platforms to say, put the economy first or get back out there or minimize it. Doctor, how important is it that everyone in the world really however you get your information, get on the same page about the precautions we can take. And do you think that will make a difference over whether this is, for the U.S., 83,000 deaths or 100 or 200?
Well, again, I come back to the point we're in this for the long haul. This is not going to be a one-inning game. And so one of the challenges we're going to have is how do we keep people basically keeping the country running, and at the same time, as this virus begins to escalate again, just as we're beginning to see in Asia, how are we going to put the pedal to the metal again? What are we going to do? We can't just shelter in place for 18 or 20 months till we get a vaccine. That's part of the long-term plan, is every time we let up on the suppression, we're going to see more cases. And that's where, if you look at these models, I mean, I appreciate very much the expertise of the modelers who have brought this particular model to the attention of the American public, the group at the University of Washington, the group at Harvard, the group at Imperial College. I jokingly say, as many of my colleagues do, all models are wrong, but some provide you useful information. And I think that one of the things we're all realizing is here, we're going to have a plan that says, okay, we get through the next 6 weeks. Then what happens when we start to let back up so we can get some kind of economy going again that just gives us the basic essential services? We're going to see more cases again. And I think we're not counting on that. That's what's going to be really important.
Right, and that goes to the road ahead. Dr. Osterholm and Congressman Liu joining us both on a very busy night for both of you. I appreciate it. Michael Steele and Dr. Wen, stay with me. I have one more book of business. Is something we wanted to give you another view on. We went through the briefing and the fact-checking. You also have the president basically completely changing gears about reopening the country by Easter, a move that was welcomed by many. It also reveals it was more than just dire projections that prompted his retreat. Look at this reporting. NBC News and the New York Times originally reporting political advisors described for Trump polling showing voters overwhelmingly wanted to keep containment measures in place over sending people back to work, especially, quote, prematurely. The data reportedly upended Trump's assumptions about the politics here. Campaign officials also arguing a spike in deaths could be even more politically damaging in November than the current economic downturn. I bring in back Michael Steele on the politics and Dr. Wen on the facts. Although both are related here, Michael, what do you think of this?
Can you turn the light off for me, please?
Yes, all politicians have politics somewhere in the orbit, but this is multiple outlets reporting that it was the politics partly on the president's mind.
Thank you.
Absolutely, it's been politics from the very beginning. I mean, you start to look at how the president framed this, the narrative around this. It was based on and amplified by Fox News. What they thought their base supporters out there were thinking and feeling about this. And then that script flipped. Their folks started seeing people affected by this virus around them. And it began to touch them personally. And the attitude out there in that viewership land, if you will, started to change. Now you see the reporting reflecting that on Fox News and the New York Times, Washington Post, who had been sort of, through their op-eds and opinion places, been saying, look, hey, this is a real problem. You can't open this up because this is the science, this is the math. Juxtapose that with the politics, and then you begin to see how this narrative makes November that much more problematic, and why you see folks looking at when Biden put out those videos of him sounding and looking presidential on this issue, how that began to eat into this because people saw him as taking it more seriously politically than the president did.
I'm told we have to fit in a break. We've been going strong here, half past the hour. Michael Steele and Dr. Wen, thanks to both of you. I want to tell you, today's briefing, both Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci highlighted the rise in cases in the Northeast. The region still projected to be weeks away from the apex of the pandemic. You can see that in some of these new projections. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy is here in the center of the action and joins me live next.
I just wanted to thank you, Ali, because you're doing such a wonderful job. And I'm not just taping this for taping's sake, it's because I was looking forward to how you engage the real life situations that can help people like us feel better. That is hope, and we must keep hope alive. And there's a future no matter what.
Too tight here, too loose there, too long here? I have the perfect solution for you. M. Taylor Custom Jeans. Stop spending hours trying stuff on. Download the free M. Taylor app on iOS or Android. Standard jeans use just 2 measurements. M. Taylor Custom Jeans use 7
Yeah, I just
measurements
happen to be taping this for my friends who don't have MSNBC. This Fon-Fomukong, Emmanuel, and Josera.
Download the M. Taylor app.
And
M. Taylor measures you digitally and is 20% more accurate than a professional tailor, all from home.
and my cat in the background. The cat can't stop sneezing. You're not supposed to be eating when I'm taping. Anyway, everything is under control, okay? Yes, God has been very good to us. And whoever receives this video, stay healthy, okay? God loves you.
Salon-Pass lidocaine patch blocks pain receptors for effective non-addictive relief. Salon-Pass lidocaine patch, roll-on, or cream.
I am totally blind, and Non-24 can throw my days and nights out of sync, keeping me from the things I love to do. Talk to your doctor and call 844-214-2424.
As a working mom, I'm thankful my mom is able to help out. So I bought her the Jitterbug Flip from Great Call. It's so easy to use, and with a larger screen and bigger buttons, it's even easier to dial. There's also a 5-star button on the keypad.
One touch and you'll be immediately connected to a highly trained agent who can confirm your location, assess the situation, and get you the help you need.
It's our biggest savings ever. Get 50% off at Best Buy, only for a limited time.
One of my favorite supplements is Quinol turmeric. Turmeric helps with healthy joints and inflammation support. Unlike regular turmeric supplements, Quinol's superior absorption helps me get the full benefits of turmeric. Quinol is the turmeric brand I trust. When you take a statin drug to reduce cholesterol, it can also deplete your CoQ10 levels. I recommend Quinol CoQ10 to help restore this important heart health nutrient. Quinol is the brand I recommend considering along with your statin medication.
What's that noise?
The cat eating.
The number of cases still going up. We're all in search of the apex and the other side of the mountain, but we are still headed up the mountain.
You're listening there to a little bit of New York Governor Andrew Cuomo discussing this rising surge of coronavirus cases. That's in New York, an epicenter for the country. New cases of the virus, though, are spiking elsewhere. The New York metro area is the home stretch here. You just see it. It is the epicenter. It is the home base. You see that in that dramatic New York Times breakdown of the whole country and the red beating in New York. Cuomo estimating that the region won't hit its apex for potentially 3 more weeks. The effort continues to try to keep up with all of the pressing emergency demands. As promised, we now go to New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy. His state has almost 19,000 cases, 267 deaths. We heard from the president today. I have questions about the federal updates that I will get to you, but let's begin with what are you seeing in your state? What do people need to know?
Good to be with you. Listen, the most important thing they need to know is to stay at home. We need everybody literally to stay at home. This is a 2-front war. On the one hand, we've got to break the back of this virus, smash that curve as low as we can, and that's a job for all 9 million of us. Stay at home, only go out if you have to. On the other hand, we're aggressively building out our healthcare capacity, beds, personal protective equipment, ventilators, expanding our healthcare workforce. They are the heroes right now. Those are the 2 fronts we're fighting, and we're in it every minute of every day.
We told viewers we would keep an eye on this ongoing White House press briefing, and we're not going back into it. But since we went off it, the president went back to some of the somber remarks he's made, likening the death toll to what you would face in a world war. There are all sorts of comparisons, people talking about a death count that's rising above the hit we took on 9/11 as a country. Obviously different in that it was murder and terrorism, but in the total count. When you see these numbers, Governor, of projected 83,000 or more Americans dying, what are you likening it to? What are you thinking? What are you telling your constituents?
Listen, it is a war. And by the way, no American state knows the tragedy and the loss of 9/11 more than New Jersey and New York, clearly. This is a war. That's what we've been telling our folks from moment one. And the way you win wars is not by panicking. and it certainly isn't by business as usual. It's being smart, aggressive, proactive. We've been at this in New Jersey since January. We formed our whole of government task force on February 2nd. You win a war by working your tail off, by having courage, by not turning against each other ever, but uniting as one family, and that's what it's going to take to win this war.
Understood. There's been a lot of discussion about governors like yourself being on this front line and how you deal with the federal government. There is sound that's interesting. You experienced this, but a lot of us don't get to see behind the curtain, so to speak. Here was the president speaking to a governor, I believe Governor Bullock, in one of these discussions on these calls. Take a listen. Let me read it a little bit to you. We're making do, as I'm sure you are. But Governor Bullock literally basically says to the president, look, there's a private market. It's telling us that we basically need to get more test kits. We're not getting enough. And he's sort of pressing the president. He says, look, okay, we've got good tests, but we don't have enough of them. It's almost, quote, instantaneous testing, but I haven't heard about this being a problem, the president then replies. I haven't, quote, heard about it being a problem. Pardon my brief transcript reading skills, but the gist of it there is the tension we're seeing. Have you seen that? Do you give the president any improvement grade, or are you still concerned, as Governor Bullock was, according to this call transcript we got, that the president's not doing enough, not taking certain aspects of this serious?
Listen, I only know what I see, and I'll leave history to the historians. I know that we were on this early. Listen, in a perfect world on testing, you'd have access to universal testing, as did South Korea. We knew up front we didn't have the federal material to do that. So we've tested symptomatic folks only from day one, and that's what we're going to continue to do as we expand our testing. The fact of the matter is, this is the federal administration. This is our president at this moment in time, and we have to find common ground. I was just on the phone with Admiral Giroir, talking about the need for more PPE, the more need for more ventilators. We're all in this together. We need the federal administration. They need us. There's no other way around that.
And final question, sir, something in the weeds, but so important. Your counterpart in New York, Governor Cuomo, has bluntly challenged the way business as usual is working, where needed items, I'm looking here to list regarding the price of ventilators, have gotten into a kind of a capitalist shell game with
Listen
folks
to that.
bidding against each other. With all the other sacrifice going on, do you believe it's time to come up with an emergency mechanism where people aren't making money or profiteering off that as long as it's an emergency supply?
Yeah, amen. There's, as I said the other day in one of our press conferences, there's a special place in hell for somebody trying to take advantage of this moment in time. We are where we are.
Hear that,
We're all in
Joe?
this together. Let's pull all the levers we can, working together, and get out of this. This is a war. It is nothing less than that. We have to behave as if it is a war, and if we do, we will win it.
Well, Governor, you've said many key things here. I hope folks are listening. And we know from all the folks we've talked to, whether it's government officials or first responders, when someone from your neck of the woods says this is the medical equivalent of a 9/11 and everyone needs to treat it that way, that means a lot, because we know what your communities have been through. Governor Phil Murphy, thank you, sir. We have something thank you, I really appreciate it. I'm going to tell viewers, we have something very special here coming up directly after this break, and it involves something you heard, potentially, 5 years ago. So important now, Bill Gates delivered this warning.
We need to get going, because time is not on our side. In fact, if there's one positive thing that can come out of the Ebola epidemic, it's that it can serve as a early warning, a wake-up call to get ready.
Wow,
If
listen.
we start now, we can be ready for the next epidemic.
Thank you.
How do you get ready for the next epidemic? And what did Bill Gates privately tell Donald Trump about how to get ready? We have that special reporting right after the break.
2015, that's when he said that.
In nearly 100 years serving the military community, we've seen you go through tough times.
And every time, you showed us you're much tougher.
Your heart,
I
courage,
believe that God
always inspired us.
brought us
And
together
now it's no different.
to get ready.
Stability and experience.
for everything that's happened in our life. And I thank God for that. I'm not using my human intelligence. I'm using my spiritual intelligence.
Completing your 2020 census
Thank
could
you,
mean
Jesus.
slimmer roads, or more emergency rooms, or more representation in our government. The census counts us all, and an accurate count helps inform where billions go every year. Don't miss your chance to be counted. Kind of depending on you here.
Because God is so awesome the way today when everything that happened today, God was reminding me that I'm a God-chosen king. Yes. And I should keep doing things exactly the way I'm doing them. And the future will be much better. Because I had limited my movements. I didn't go to public places to party.
Calm. Download the free app now. Oh my gosh. Wow. Who am I? Wow, is that really me? Under eye bags and wrinkles are so frustrating. I came across Plexiderm and I was so excited. We have a model. All he's doing is taking a small amount. It's so powerful. That's all it takes. Tightens the skin and smooths it out. Gently rub it underneath your eyes, on your fine lines and wrinkles, and it visibly disappears in as little as 10 minutes. You know, I felt something happening, but I had no idea. Like, I have so many dark circles. I have the puffiness. I have the lines. Like, it's amazing. Holy words I can't say on camera. I could feel it just lifting my skin. It was amazing. It feels good. Feels great. Looks even better.
At our $14.95 price, it's the best way to try Plexiderm and see it work for yourself after your first application. Your solution
You don't remember me, but I love you.
plexidermtrial.com or call the number on your screen.
The good news, our protection lasts all day. The bad news,
God knows I will never leave you anyway. God knows that. You don't know that, but I know that. And God knows that. And the whole world doesn't like that. That's what love is all about. Relax. Don't speak. Talk to the cat, not to me.
You talk to the cat.
Talks.
So we reimagine comfort through fabric, fit, and function.
We use soft, breathable, lightweight fabric with stay-put
TommyJohn.com.
waistbands that never dig
Is
and
that a
stretch
mainstay
when you need
underwear?
it. We made a women's line so comfortable there are no visible panty lines
Okay.
and no wedgies, guaranteed.
For a limited time,
No
it's
high
Tommy John's
thoughts either.
spring sale. Go to TommyJohn.com right now for up to 30% off site-wide. That's TommyJohn.com. Log on
Tommy
now.
John. Tommy John.
Now to our special report tonight. The coronavirus pandemic is upending our lives in ways many people could not have imagined. Work and socializing now mostly confined to home. Schools obviously closed. Most long-term plans canceled. And while some in the federal government
Warnings.
seem caught off guard, this very problem is something some leaders didn't warn about. One of the world's most accomplished innovators took to a public stage 5 years ago, warning about pandemics. It all sounds quite prescient now to hear Bill Gates' advice then.
If anything kills over 10 million people in the next few decades, it's most likely to be a highly infectious virus rather than a war. We've invested a huge amount in nuclear deterrence, but we've actually invested very little in a system to stop an epidemic. We're not ready for the next epidemic.
That was 2015. Gates going public with the evidence showing the U.S. was not ready for this kind of pandemic. So as part of our ongoing special coverage, right now we turn to our report on these warnings, what they reveal about the U.S. response today, and more critically, how they can inform our approach in the future and potentially save lives. You know, of all the experts out there in areas ranging from medicine to disaster prep, Bill Gates excelled in several critical fields. Computer innovation, which requires original thinking, business, which excels on ruthless execution, and then his current chapter, public health philanthropy, where Gates takes on all kinds of medical challenges around the world with both his skills and his money. Gates became the richest person in the world by leading a tech revolution, and he became increasingly famous as a nerd with a can-do spirit. Here he was on David Letterman back in 1995, sporting a hard hat and lab coat.
What are the things that you've designed for the house that really you're very excited about?
I've got a trampoline room that I can go and use.
Yep.
Trampoline room.
Yeah.
That's right.
Jump around.
Non-virtual.
Exercise. Yes.
Got trampoline downstairs.
Trampolines are not the item many billionaires brag about buying, but Gates isn't the typical billionaire, and he's different in ways that are especially relevant now. Take his intellectual hunger. The young entrepreneur once recounted how he vacationed only about once a year and used that time to dig into obscure academic research.
Like most of us, Bill says that he escapes the office about once a year, but that's where the similarities end.
I spend at least a week a year where I go off and just read people's Ph.D. theses and new things that are going on in the field.
You got to read those PhD theses. This is one reason that Gates has seen around so many corners. He reads ahead into the research to see where things might go. And now that he does philanthropy full-time, he's been deploying his money and platform to press challenges that some corporations and governments don't get around to tackling. The Gates Foundation presents ideas, papers, and money, as you've probably seen, to governments around the world. And Gates has had his own run-ins with Donald Trump. At one foundation meeting, Gates recounted a classic story where Trump was attending a horse show in Florida. Gates' daughter was there too, and she noticed that Trump took an extra car ride to leave the area so he could make one of his special helicopter entrances at the event. This is footage MSNBC's Chris Hayes first reported.
Like 20 minutes later, he flew in a helicopter to the same place, so clearly he had been driven away, but he wanted to make a grand entrance in a helicopter.
Now, whatever Gates thought of Donald Trump's attempts to impress, Bill Gates still took the opportunities, controversial or not, to advocate pandemic policy with Donald Trump. Here they were at Trump Tower right after Trump's election in December 2016. Gates explaining he was pushing science and health policies at that very meeting.
I saw him at Trump Tower, and I said, hey, science and innovation is a great thing. You should be a leader who drives innovation. And that conversation was about a broad set of things in energy, in health, in education.
People have all kinds of ideas. Few get a private audience with the president. And while Bill Gates is not out here telling everyone, I told you so, the evidence shows that in many ways, he did. Listen to Gates' prescient warnings from 2015.
We need to get going because time is not on our side. In fact, if there's one positive thing that can come out of the Ebola epidemic, it's that it can serve as a early warning, a wake-up call to get ready. If we start now, we can be ready for the next epidemic.
It was time to get ready.
Like
Many governments didn't listen or didn't want to spend the money. Gates specifically outlining the type of potential virus that would be most infectious. Notice how it eerily predicts parts of COVID transmission.
You can have a virus where people feel well enough while they're infectious that they get on a plane or they go to a market.
You yourself can be carrying it. You might not even know it. That'd be the worst thing in the world is to go to church to worship and to sit next to someone and infect them.
That was crucial knowledge. And regardless of the saying that you may have heard, knowledge actually is not always power. It really depends what people do with knowledge.
Amen.
Gates took his knowledge and he went back to meet with Donald Trump.
Oh, Lord.
Again. In 2018, he advocated the Trump administration get serious and back a universal flu vaccine. He tried to prod the president with a kind of flattery, saying a universal flu vaccine could be kicked off and energized by you, Mr. President. What a great legacy. Now, Gates later said Trump sounded interested, but there wasn't much progress. I can tell you by September of last year, Trump signed an executive order that created a flu vaccine task force, but it was headed by someone already on the job, Health Secretary Azar, and that effort didn't come with any legislation,
They fired a guy.
or any new money to prepare for pandemics. Now, Gates also says Trump offered him a possible role as a science advisor, something Gates declined in favor of just actually offering the science advice publicly and
Free,
privately
yeah.
that we're telling you about. Now, the government can take it or leave it. This is Gates' exact role today, and he's speaking out again now with advice for anyone who's listening, and it includes rebutting some of the newest claims by President Trump.
it's very irresponsible for somebody to suggest we can have the best of both worlds. What we need is the extreme shutdown so that in 6 to 10 weeks, if things go well, then you can start opening back up. It's very tough to say to people, hey, keep going to restaurants, go buy new houses. Ignore that pile of bodies over in the corner.
Oh,
Just,
Lord.
we want you to keep spending because there's some, maybe a politician who thinks GDP growth is what really counts.
That was a stark way to put it. Gates was saying that as the body count rose, but before videos and pictures like this went viral, the footage of the human wreckage of this virus in America, a country that has so much money but is reduced to scenes like this. Now, since Gates' expertise stands at the intersection of innovation, business, and public health, it's worth noting that he's one of the business titans emphasizing that while the economic toll is severe, that comes second to the challenge that cannot be reversed. This virus continuing to kill so many people.
It is really tragic that the economic effects of this are very dramatic. I mean, nothing like this has ever happened to the economy in our lifetimes. But money, bringing the economy back and doing money, that's more of a reversible thing than bringing people back to life.
Trump doesn't know that. Stupid fool.
Your life is worth more than all the money in the world.
Thank you.
It echoes something that many already have admired about Bill Gates, that he embodies success without flaunting it. As the great Andre Benjamin once put it, Bill Gates don't dangle diamonds in the face of peasants when he's micro-softening the place. Consider your surroundings, or you leave without a trace.
Amen.
The point is, real strength doesn't need to flaunt itself.
Yes.
Considering your surroundings is crucial for staying alive. That applies to staying safe right now, as well as preparing for the next pandemic. As Gates also explained back in 2015, as he would later try to warn Donald Trump, the medical science shows a path for what we all need to do. And with that in mind, tonight, Bill Gates gets the final word.
The problem was that we didn't have a system at all. In fact, there are some pretty obvious key missing pieces. We didn't have a group of epidemiologists ready to go. A large epidemic would require us to have hundreds of thousands of workers. The failure to prepare could allow the next epidemic to be dramatically more devastating than Ebola. It didn't get into many urban areas, and that was just luck. Next time, we might not be so lucky. It would spread throughout the world very, very quickly.
Wow.
If we start now, we can be ready for the next epidemic.
As coronavirus cases spread nationwide, join
Exactly. Yes, to anybody who receives this video, stay strong. We're praying for you, and God will guide you, protect you, and make sure you are not a victim of this pandemics. Okay, the COVID-19. And Fon-Fomukong Emmanuel and his wife Josetta Fomukong wish all of you such a wonderful evening. I tape this because I know that maybe a lot of people do not have an MSNBC, and above all, MSNBC does not get to people on my links, those with whom I communicate in Africa or all over the world. So thank God for giving me the intelligence to tape this just for all of you. And God bless. And you can always, just send back a WhatsApp text and let me know that this meant a lot to you. But there is hope. Okay? When everything seems so hopeless, there is always hope, because we are together. we're all together in this tragic situation in this whole world. And good night, Fon-Fomukong, Emmanuel. Good night.